This segment is brought to you by Central National Bank. Put our ag professionals to work for you.
Good morning and welcome back to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Conrad Cabus. We recently visited the Kansas Department of Agriculture. The United States Department of Agriculture recently awarded over $300,000 to the Kansas Department of Agriculture through the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program. Agriculture is the state's largest industry and economic driver. The Kansas Department of Agriculture believes that this grant program offers an excellent opportunity to allow farmers and ranchers to diversify into other crops, including fruit and vegetable and other specialty crops. Through these grants, they are able to promote the growth, education, and awareness of Kansas agriculture of all kinds to help connect consumers to agriculture from farm all the way to the fork.
Yeah, the Specialty Crop Block Grant, it's funded through the Farm Bill, so we know it will be around for the next 5 years for the life of this Farm Bill. And every state is given an allocation of funds based off of mainly the amount of specialty crops produced within their state. And actually, you know, even though they're very small, hardly show up on the radar as far as the dollar amount of specialty crops produced in Kansas, the number is growing, and so it is good. So this last year's funding, we received our biggest allocation to date. Over $300,000, just roughly right under $306,000 that will be distributed out there. And so every state does get some funding. As you can imagine, other states with large, I looked it up before I came down, and California received $19.7 million worth of funding. It makes sense that their funding level is that. And all told, this federal fiscal year, the total allocation out to the states was right at $66 million.
The Specialty Crop Block Grant will focus on helping producers through research rather than on a one-on-one approach. The Kansas Department of Agriculture believes that through these different facets of the program, they can help producers all over the state.
And the purpose of this grant is not necessarily to go to an individual producer producing specialty crops. This is more broad. It's the purpose of this is to promote the specialty crop as a whole, or a certain specific specialty crop as a whole, such as, a project that we've had a good partnership we've had with Highland Community College for 4 years now for their viticulture and enology program through there. So promoting the grape and wine industry as a whole in Kansas.
After the break, we talk with Stacy Mayo about the two parts of the grant that the Kansas Department of Agriculture will oversee, including the expansion of the KDA's Good Agricultural Practices Cost Share Program through the use of a certified third-party USDA GAP auditor and making a statewide beverage brochure and online tool supporting farm wineries. Stay tuned.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Good morning and welcome back to Farm Factor on Ag AM in Kansas. I'm your host, Conrad Cabus. Recently, the United States Department of Agriculture awarded over $300,000 to the Kansas Department of Agriculture through the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program, comprised of 7 parts, 2 of which are coordinated through the Kansas Department of Agriculture. The 2 parts work with good agriculture practices and agritourism.
So Good Agricultural Practices, or GAP, is a certification that is recognized industry-wide. It was actually asked for by the industry, so it's created to really focus on harvest and handling practices with fresh fruits and vegetables. And we encourage farmers, specialty crop farmers in Kansas, to become GAP certified. And the reason and the rationale is that they can then enter into markets across many grocery stores, chains such as Kroger. Different stores like Walmart are requiring those GAP certifications. So what we have decided to do is we applied for the grant to be able to create a cost share program that allows farmers to get a certain percentage of their funds that they spend on the GAP certification to get reimbursed for them. This is a continuation of an effort in this past year. So we see this as an opportunity that will really take out barriers to market for those specialty crop farmers looking to get into grocery stores or continue to be in those markets, and help that be able to be an option at a reduced cost. That is also, this previous year put those funds towards getting a USDA GAP auditor in Kansas. So it's actually one of our food safety staff here at KDA, and that allows the GAP audits to actually be done at a lower rate because mileage is charged. So now they have someone in state traveling to those locations, and they also try and group those. So if there's multiple locations at one time, to split the cost of that mileage, again, making it cheaper for the farmer looking for the certification.
The expansion of the Kansas Department of Agriculture Good Agricultural Practices cost share program will allocate part of one of KDA's employees' time to act as a third-party USDA GAP auditor who will help many farmers around the state and will focus on industry need.
This is not necessarily about a farming practice. It's about their handling and food safety practices with GAP certification. And it, as I mentioned, it's a industry asked for certification when it was developed. And so it's another way stores are helping to make sure that the food that they bring into their stores have meet their safety requirements. And so it's another certification that allows those farmers to say, yes, most of them are already doing all of these safety and food safety handling practices. It's just putting it onto paper and doing an audit.
The second part is about the statewide beverage brochure and online tools supporting farm wineries. The Kansas Department of Agriculture will partner with the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism to increase consumer interest and purchases from farm wineries in Kansas.
So we have partnered with Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism, and we both see agritourism as a great opportunity in economic development and growth in the state. And one of the ways is through farm wineries. And there's more than 30 farm wineries in the state, and with those farm wineries, many of them offer an agritourism experience, whether that's a tasting room, they're on the farm, tours of the farm. People can really go out and experience what it is to be a farm winery in Kansas. And so what we want to do is we're partnering with them to create a map as well as an online component that will feature the farm wineries across the state. This was done a couple of years ago and needed some updating. The great news is there continues to be growth. So we want to do something that as a consumer, whether you're a Kansan or you're visiting Kansas, you can go and see where those different wineries are. Some counties have their own wine trails. Up in Miami County, they have the Somerset Wine Trail, but we're trying to really look at it as a statewide component to feature and promote those farm wineries, and also make it a tool that is online. So if you don't want to have the print brochure, you can go online. It'll be mobile friendly. So that's something we're just getting ready to start working on, and hope by next summer that we'll be able to have that launched.
This is the fast track to more jobs and America's energy independence. Advanced performance is here now. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
This segment is brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Good morning and welcome back to Farm Factor on Ag AM in Kansas. I'm your host, Conrad Capus. Recently, the United States Department of Agriculture awarded over $300,000 to the Kansas Department of Agriculture through the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program. The grant is divided into 7 areas, focusing on Kansas State University research, Highland Community College viticulture and enology, Harper County Community Education, and the Kansas Department of Agriculture, as we discussed in the last segment. Kansas State University research will work on improving shelf life for specialty crops.
2 of those went to Kansas State University, specifically Department of Horticulture researchers. The one to Dr. Alini Pilicani, she's actually based out of the K-State Olathe office. She's doing work with producers showing the importance of how you can increase shelf life of vegetables if you provide a cooling system as soon as the crops are harvested. And another project with Kansas State University that KDA is also going to partner with them as well is Dr. Carrie Rivard in horticulture, leading this charge with several other faculty from other departments on campus. They are developing an instrument, or a survey instrument, if you will, that we're going to help distribute to all known specialty crop growers in the state. What's interesting is that we get a lot of demand. We have a lot of questions from grocers such as Hy-Vee, Dillon's, and all the way down to local grocers of, hey, where are the specialty crops grown in Kansas? Because they're interested in purchasing Kansas products, and this, as the local food. As that picks up steam, it's a real important part. Another project, as I kind of alluded to earlier, continuing our partnership with Highland Community College with their viticulture and enology extension program. That's been a great project to help grape growers and winemakers get started, providing different outreach things, different field days. Another great project they finished up this year was they had actually purchased a transplant machine that'll help transplant grapevines. As you know, when you plant a grapevine, it doesn't start producing grapes right away, but grapevines actually transplant well. So this is a method where if someone was interested to get into the grape growing business and they knew of someone that was maybe wanting to transition out or move a vineyard, it's a possible thing. Another important piece of adapting or of promoting the specialty crop industry. It's also shown how we can add even more value to the crop, like turning fruits into a higher value item such as jellies, preserves, or that. And so we've teamed up, going to partner with the Harper County Fair Board and Sunflower RC&D. They're going to the Harper County Fair Board is going to put in a kind of a commercial grade kitchen. If you know that it will be fully licensed in that they're going to hold some classes to show people how you can add more value to your crops. And final, two Kansas Department of Agriculture led projects is expanding our good agricultural practices, our GAP cost share. Specialty crop growers, in order to get your product into a lot of stores, especially at Dillon's, Walmart's been requiring this for a while, they have to show that they're using good agricultural practices. And so there's an audit process that's done through USDA and the Kansas Department of Ag that comes and audits these programs, these farms, to make sure they're using safe practices. And that's got some significant costs with this, and so we'll help with some of the costs that are associated with the audit. And then the final project that Kansas Department of Ag is leading is developing a brochure that talks about all the farm wineries in the state. So it'll be kind of a one-stop pamphlet that with a map. It'll be really neat, and it'll point out all the wineries in Kansas. As we know, agritourism is always an important growing thing that and this will be able to show people, will be able to pick it up and go sample all the great Kansas wine out there.
Thank you for watching today's program. For more of Farm Factor, or if you want to view this program again, visit us on www.agaminkansas.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. So have a good day with good luck.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.